Blake and his poem Tiger. Brief sketch of his life and works. William Blake was born on the 28th of November 1757 in London and died on the August of 1827. He was a great visionary poet, artist, and engraver, and is regarded as one of the greatest romantic poets, but with very unique gifts of vision, spirituality, originality, and intense seeking of truth and meaning. He was the author of the following famous books: Songs of Innocence, 1789, Songs of Experience, 1794, Visions of Daughters of Albion, 1793, the first book of Urizen, 1794, Milton, 1804, to some other unknown year, among others. These works he himself etched, printed, colored, stitched, and sold with the assistance of his devoted wife, Catherine. Among his best known lyrics today are The Lamb and the Tiger, London, and the Jerusalem lyric from Milton, which has become a kind of second national anthem in Britain. Blake was born over his father's modest hosiery shop at 28 Broad Street, Golden Square, London. His parents were James Blake, 1722 to 84, and Catherine Wright Armitage Blake, 1722 to 92. His father was his mother's second husband. Blake had a distinct and very deeply influential Christian upbringing. He is reported to having seen angels and God and saints while awake. Such visions came from his burning combination of secularism, which means the desire to see things by himself, and belief in God and paradise. So it was a very funny combination. He was regarded actually as mad in his lifetime, but by the 21st century, he has been hailed, in fact, as the greatest of romantic poets. He did not have children, and he had an extremely devoted wife, Catherine. He had to struggle for a living. He had an intense desire to be an artist full-time and had shown tremendous talent early on. He was a great artist. But due to his finances, he could not become a full-time artist and instead became a skilled engraver. He took to writing and himself made his own books, beautifully engraved, etched and bound by his own hands. He wrote marvelous poems, but due to the strange character and extreme originality of his works, he could not get the recognition, sadly, as he really deserved. In fact, people sadly dismissed his thinking as a kind of madness. He died at the age of 69 in August 22nd, 1827. So that was a brief, wonderful, interesting life sketch of William Blake. Now, what was the social and political climate of his times and romanticism during that time? The 1700 to 1800 years were turbulent, intellectually questioning and intensely creative, and those years witnessed two great revolutions, the American Revolution and the French Revolution. They were years of very deep transition from long-held tradition and habit of faith and servility, slavery, to the newly emerging scientific and enlightening outlook. It had all the passion, the suffering, the intensity, the questioning, the confusions, anarchism of a transition. Yet, it was a period where man was becoming finally liberated from the shackles of religion after long ages of being ruled by religious authority and leading dull and dry lives. People were emerging into great life. Great thinkers and philosophers emerged in this period, and the greatest of literary movements was that of Romanticism. This movement had great writers like Byron, Keats, Victor Hugo, Wordsworth, and also Blake and many others. Each was very unique, but all had a single thing in common: a deep and intense concern as to the meaning of life. To have the fire to pursue that question by one's own self, not depending on authority, to see and think and observe and question, and to truly try to get the truth. That became the intensity of that period. It was both liberating and agonizing, suffering, but it changed the world. Man matured and flowered, and this movement paved the way, opened the door, the road for the full emergence of the world of today, our modern world, that is far, far more enlightened than all the dark centuries of the past put together. So that is a romantic movement. You have to understand romantic movement, because without that background, you can't understand the poem which we are going to understand today. The meaning and significance of the poem Tiger. Let us go directly to the poem and understand the mind, heart and soul and vision, concerns and sense of life of William Blake. Let us analyze, sense and feel each line, and also let us draw out its inner meaning from the genius of expression of William Blake. So, Tiger. So let's start reading the poem. The first line is, Tiger, tiger, burning bright in the forest of the night. Look at the powerful words. Now let's try to understand this. As you can see, in just this one line, we have 2 times tiger word being used, and with exclamations, tiger, tiger. The poet is drawing our attention to what we all have seen, but never really seen with our eyes. Really seen. Then come 2 words, burning, bright. See, bright, burning, 2 words, and both are alliteration, both B sounding. So both words together give us a blinding sense of shine, fire of the skin of the tiger and his inner fire. And also the word burning means passionate, aggressive, powerful. The poet is making us almost see the tiger with that new vision. Then you have the words, in the forest of the night. In the forest of the night. Night means nobody is there. Only the tiger is there. That feeling is coming, isn't it? What do these words really mean? What does forest of the night mean? It means aloneness, fearlessness, supreme individuality and power. It shows that the tiger is not soft, dependent, needy. No, it is in the forest of the night. Night means nobody is there. So much has been conveyed with just powerful first line itself. You see? Now second line, what immortal hand or eye could frame thy means your fearful symmetry. Now the poet is asking, who could make something so beautiful and fearful? He's feeling a great awe at a god or creator who could have the vision to create something so terrible and yet so wonderfully beautiful. The poet is now taking his own seeing of a tiger to the highest metaphysical plane of reflection. Who made this tiger? The poet is asking. Such a tiger. Who made this? Then from here he goes line after line the same point. In what distant deeps and skies burned the fire of thine eyes, your eyes? In what distant deeps and skies, which means there is a paradise where the tiger was made. Hence the poet continues and is asking, in which paradise were those eyes made? He is bringing again that feeling of terrible wonder in looking at the tiger. On what wings dare he aspire? What the hand dare seize the fire? Who caught that fire? Who caught that wings? And what shoulder, what art could twist the sinews of thy heart? The tiger's heart, which is so powerful. Who could catch that heart? Now the poet is going deeper into wondering about that creator who made this tiger. What wings, what hand had to catch such a fire? And what shoulder had to make the heart, to twist it, to make the heart. How do you hold like an atom bomb? And when thy heart began to beat, what dread hand, dread means fear, and what dread feet, fear, what the hammer, what the chain, in what furnace was thy brain, what the anvil. Here the poet is continuing to talk about such a tremendous process of creating the tiger by comparing to furnace. Furnace, he is using words like hammer and chain and anvil. You see? What dread, dread means fearful grasp, dare, daring, it's deadly terror's clasp. Deadly terror's clasp. Clasp means hold. Terrors means terrors. Deadly means terror only. Here the poet talks about how could a creator hold such a terrifying and powerful beast that is the tiger. When the stars threw down their spears and watered heaven with their tears, did he smile his work to see? Did he, the creator, the God who made the lamb, soft lamb, make you, thee? He's saying, here the poet is saying that even the stars gave up and they started crying, and he continues to ask. The poet is asking, Did the creator who made the soft, nice lamb also made this ferocious tiger? Such a terrifying and beautiful animal, such a beastly animal. See? So he goes into the whole process of asking the creator, how could? And finally the last two lines, tiger, tiger, burning bright in the forest of the night. What immortal? Immortal means it can't die. Hand or eye dare frame thy means your fearful symmetry. Here again the poet repeats the beginning sentence, but there he used could frame, here he is using dare frame. He's asking how you got the daring. He has gone now, the poet has gone now to the limit of asking, who created you? Who could dare? Who and how did the God make you? How could he hold such a power, such a terrifying power, such a terrifying beast? And how could he make you? While making the lamb, is there no good, no bad? Are both the same for you? And he seems to even admire such a power of a creator to make such a powerful, terrifying thing. So, as we can see fully here, we can fully feel this poem. We realize that Blake is telling us to see reality. He is telling us to see that there is a tiger, to see the tiger for what it is. That reality is not, pitiful. It doesn't have no sympathy. That reality is wild. It has no mercy, merciless. That even the Creator is merciless. So obviously, it is a very modern poem, romantic poem. It is a deep, wondering, questioning, and leaving the answers open, letting you see, letting you think for yourself, while giving you great eyes to see. That is why this poem haunts people who read it. It is one of the greatest poems ever written. As we can see, William Blake was a romantic, but with far deeper questioning of a metaphysical nature. Because of his Christian upbringing, on the one hand was creator, on the other hand was this nature. Who is right? Who is right? Which is the truth? What is reality? What is good and bad? Is there such a thing? Or is nature just fully only what it is? So, it is deeply scientific and spiritual at the same time. It is deeply romantic in the full true sense of the word. That is why Tiger is a beautiful poem. Thank you so much.